Hello, and welcome to another Hangout on Air with the Google Small Business Community. My name is Rachel Sterling. Today, we're wrapping up Social Media Month with the platform that uses the hashtag to capture the world's trending conversation. Let's give a warm Hangout welcome to Anne Mercogliano from Twitter. Anne, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And why don't you fill everybody in? What do you do at Twitter?
Sure. So I am our head of our small and medium business marketing group at Twitter. And the way that we see our jobs is just helping small businesses be successful on our platform. So really, it's about finding your audience and then figuring out ways to connect with them.
And everybody here in the community is really going to be interested in learning about that. We've had a lot of questions about Twitter. So I know you've watched these Hangouts before, so you know this question is coming. If you could have a Hangout with anyone in the world, who would it be, and what's the most embarrassing question you would ask them?
So if it's any person living or dead, I've decided I would definitely want to be able to hang out with Jim Henson, who's the creator of The Muppets. I'm a girl who grew up on Sesame Street and The Muppet Show, and it would be absolutely incredible to talk to the person who created all of these people and envisioned them. The embarrassing part about that, I think, is as soon as he said yes, I'd ask if a couple Muppets could come along to the Hangout. And then if he said yes to that, probably at some point I'd ask about doing some sort of Rainbow Connection sing-along.
Which would be your favorite Muppet?
I have to say it's Ralph. I know he's an underrepresented Muppet, but absolutely love him.
There was nothing for me that was cooler when I was a kid than Fraggle Rock.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Fraggle Rock, the coolest. Okay, so let's get started with our conversation about Twitter today. It's a safe assumption that everybody knows what Twitter is, but people might not know who is actually on Twitter. Who are small business owners reaching on Twitter if they use Twitter?
Yep. I mean, the way to think about the value of our audience is that every day, millions of people show up at our platform to do two things: to discover new content that's out there and also share their interests. So as a small business, it's a great opportunity for you to introduce what you do and kind of talk to them and have a more deep conversation. We always like to think about it in the sense that you want to be creating a follower community that's really interested in what you are actually thinking about in either a service or a product that you're selling. The one thing that we found is that if you create that follower base on Twitter, you're actually going to see a lot more likely for people to respond to any sort of direct response advertising. So buying a platform for you, finding out more about your services. In fact, we've done a study where we found that 60% of people who follow an SMB have gone and take action and purchased from the SMB because of Twitter.
So what our small business owners who are watching need to realize is that their customers are on Twitter. Regardless of what they're selling, their audience is there.
Absolutely. The thing that we say is your next best loyal customers on Twitter, you just need to figure out how to start that conversation with them.
Okay.
I
love that, your next best loyal customer.
Yes. And I think it's a great opportunity to be having this discussion as well, as the holidays are just around the corner. In fact, every year we do a holiday research study specifically about how Twitter and SMBs can kind of take advantage of thinking about that user base that's on our platform and really figuring out ways that customers can support small businesses and small businesses can find new customers and sales. So a few great things that have come out of that study, which we did with Millward Brown, is one, we know that more people, particularly in the US, are going to be spending on holidays this year. So it's about $900, which is up 12% year over year.
It seems impossible to me that we can continue to spend more money on holidays.
I don't know. It's probably going to happen. I think we all realize it in January that we may have gone, and spent a little bit more on our gifts for those last minute ideas. Mm-hmm. But it's great because we find that a lot of people also use the platform to think about it in terms of actually researching what they should be thinking about this year or getting unique holiday gift ideas. In fact, we found that it's 37% of our respondents are planning to use it for their holiday shopping, and then that 68 respondents, which is actually up about 12% year over year, have said that they have directly purchased something on Twitter because of a great idea or a great product being featured on our platform.
So Twitter becomes an inspiration for the holiday shopping list.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we wanted to point out that we're doing something different this Hangout. Normally we just have one camera, which is right here, but we actually have a second camera in the studio. We know there's a lot more to Twitter than 140 characters, and it's right over there. We are periscoping this event live. Hi. Yeah. So can you fill everybody in? What is Periscope, and what are some of the other products that Twitter has coming down the pipeline that might help small business owners?
Definitely. So think about some of our other products as a great way of capturing video to talk to a live audience or create clips to really engage your business community. Periscope, really at the heart of it, is just an application on your phone that's going to let you really easily stream and talk to a live audience. Some great ways for businesses to think about including that in what they're doing is, say you're doing an event, having a new store opening, or you just want to simply show a quick product demo of something that you're working on. If you turn on Periscope, you're doing it live right now, such as we have our great audience that's joining with us. It's a great way to have that live conversation and show something really quickly and easily. The other thing to highlight is that we have Vine as well, and we see it as a great way to complement your tweets. So you're using 140 characters, but you're also bringing to the life your message with a 6-second continuous loop. And it can be something as simple as just showing a quick behind-the-scenes shot of what you're working on, or you can do small tips and tricks. There's a great hardware store that shows little tips of how to pull a nail out of the wall without damaging it.
So if you're a brick and mortar, let's say, and you're doing your holiday display and you're using some sort of a theme, you could actually put up a Vine showing, like giving a tease of what that brick and mortar is going to look like and get people excited and make them want to come to your store.
And it's a really simple thing where you can pause and kind of capture each of those 6 seconds at different increments. So you could actually show the building of your holiday display at your store and then tweet that out with your Vine right there. It'll already be auto-expanded and people can kind of see that and get excited about your holiday decorations.
We did man on the street interviews a couple of months ago down in Willow Glen, and we met with this woman who was amazing. She had a vintage clothing shop, and she said Halloween was big for her, clearly. And like I could imagine her creating a Vine and showing some of the cool costumes that she has in that makes people want to go down to her store.
Absolutely. No, we think of it as a great way to easily make something that's creative, and at the same time really, test and learn with it, try it out, and amplify it if you find that somebody's really engaging with it. Think about maybe pinning it on your profile or even promoting it to people that would be interested in it as well.
And it's just with a smartphone.
Yes.
No money down.
Exactly.
Yeah, beyond what you pay to your carrier.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot this month about how small businesses can use social media to attract new customers. You mentioned the study that you did with Millward Brown. I wanted to point out this other study that you did with DB5 of monthly users of Twitter who follow a small business on Twitter. And they found that 61% of those surveyed discovered a new small business on Twitter, and 85% of those users felt more connected to small businesses after following them. So if I'm a small business owner and I'm trying to get started on Twitter, how do I find out how to do that?
Absolutely. So a couple great resources to think about is one, just going to business.twitter.com. And so that is all things for thinking about how to really figure out some of the nuts and bolts of Twitter and also how to amplify your business or kind of scale on any of the stuff that you're already doing in social media. I highly recommend checking out our resources page where we've recently put out a great kind of resource hub called Tweet Smarter. And so what you're going to find there, very simply, from start to finish, how to set up a campaign on Twitter and how to optimize it and also understand the results that you're getting from that. So definitely recommend thinking about hitting up our resources page. We've been investing a lot in that. The second thing is we have a great blog. So it's blog.twitter.com/small-business. Don't worry, you don't have to remember that. You can also find it on business.twitter.
People don't have to frantically write that down.
But the great thing is, one, you'll see our holiday research is actually going to premiere in the next few weeks there, so you can get all those great stats and what to think about doing with those and how to harness the holiday season. We also do great success stories, profile small businesses, and do really quick tweet tips. And the idea there is organic or kind of paid best practices that really can make some of your marketing sing. And lastly, follow us on Twitter. So we're at Twitter Small Biz. We have a wonderful person that is running that, and she is there to listen to your questions, answer them, and reach out. We basically say follow us, and we'll kind of keep you up to date with all the other resources we've been putting out there, and also last-minute kind of tips and tricks.
Okay, so the three links that we want people to remember are business.twitter.com. We want people to remember the blog, the small business blog, and we want people to follow at Twitter Small Biz.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, great. Now you've mentioned the holidays a couple of times, and we know that holiday prep starts sooner and sooner every single year. So how should small business owners use Twitter to attract new customers this holiday season?
Definitely. Well, it's never too early to invest in that follower base on the platform. Basically, what the idea of a follower is, it's somebody that's raising their hand and saying, you know what, I'd like to hear from you kind of time after time. And that's the great part. When somebody follows you, you get to engage with them over time. They're seeing your tweets when they're saying, yes, I'd like to follow you. I want this in my timeline. So investing in that follower base now is really critical because basically you're going to be laying the groundwork so that when you are running a promotion or a sale, they're already invested and are going to be able to see that. Some tips and tricks to think about that is make sure that you're thinking about what you want to say to them over the holiday season. So ask questions, see if they are interested in hearing about some holiday advice. Again, from that study, we found that 1 in 3 people say that they're actually going to be turning to Twitter for holiday ideas. So when you think about it, being able to show what products that people are interested in, have a Q&A, talk about maybe shipping and when is that the last day that you're able to send something out, or helping people that wait to the last minute, which is actually what I do. But we definitely recommend thinking about creating that follower base, and then when you get to those November and December, really bringing that to life by tweeting out and driving people specifically to your website or other platform where they can purchase from you, or having them come in store.
I think that one of the keys to the success of Twitter is that you do have real-time engagement. You can be a consumer who is talking directly to the business that you like, and they can hear your feedback, and they can give you answers to your questions. And so in terms of building up brand loyalty and repeat customers, this is really key.
Absolutely. There's nothing better than having an affinity to a small business, or even just, having a question, realizing you can have that relationship. It's a person on the other end. I would say think about Twitter the same way as if a customer walked in real life to where your brick and mortar shop. If they have a question, you'd want to reach out, have that conversation with them. It's no different other than the fact that you have such a broader audience that you can reach right now.
Okay, so that's holiday tips.
Yes.
Now, we know when people get started on social media, and when I say people, I mean me, we are worried about mistakes, especially mistakes on, let's say, the global scale of a publicly shared medium. I typically will reference here, whenever we think about doing a chat on Twitter, I'll always do #AskELJames. As something that can just have the best intentions, and it could go awry. So my question is, around mistakes. What are some of the mistakes on Twitter that small business owners should be aware of so that they can avoid them and they don't fall into one of those traps?
Absolutely. So I think one thing to think about is we always talk about the 80-20 principle on content. Some people will sign up and they'll go directly to saying, like, I'm having a sale right now. And then the next tweet, I'm having a sale right now. And then, would you like to come to this sale? That's not really going to be, The idea there is that you want people to follow you because you're having that conversation. You're telling them more about your business. You want to be thinking about engaging content 80% of the time. So it's totally fine to think about, I'm having a sale, but hey, here are some really cool products that we just got in. Let me put up a Vine of us unboxing them and showing them out there. The other thing is, showing behind the scenes. Who are the people that are, creating the products that are going out there, or it's you with a service. Sometimes just, being there as an expert, which is what most small business owners are. They're experts in their field. And, sharing your expertise or tweeting a link out of something that's really relevant to your business. People are going to be engaged with that, and you're going to find that they're either going to talk back and then reply to you, retweet, favorite that. And then in that last remaining 20%, once you've kind of created that loyalty and affinity, then you can start thinking about doing direct calls to action, which is, hey, I'm having a sale, go to our website.
Yeah, so you have to basically entertain people and educate people about what you're doing before you encourage them to come on over. You have to get to know them before you invite them to your house.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. We know the running theme that we always hear from small business owners, especially folks that work by themselves and solopreneurs doing startups, they just don't have enough time in their day. And so we know that if they're investing in time to start a new platform like a Twitter, they want real-time feedback to know whether it's working.
Yes.
What are the tools that people should be aware of that you use to let people know if it's working or not?
I have been so proud of what we've invested in this last year to really have people have those tools, and it's get the insights, but then also figure out the action. So it's great to know, oh, somebody retweeted me 3 times. But what we want to do is be able to translate that through a lot of our analytics platforms so you know what is the next step to do. So my advice is definitely go to yet another URL, analytics.twitter.com. And there are 3 really great pieces of being able to understand what's going on with your Twitter profile. The first is our account home, and that's just a great summary of what's happened with you and your profile over the last month on Twitter. A great thing to look at that there is you can see who are your top followers, who are the people that have that really big, broad audience and that are following you and have raised their hand and said, I'm actually interested in your business. By knowing that you have these 3 or 4 maybe major influencers that are interested in your business, thinking about engaging with them, because again, engaging with them and starting that conversation, you're going to get to talk to their follower base as well.
We're not technically a small business here at Google Small Business, but we actually employ that strategy. We're always looking for people who are influencers working with small business owners, such as yourself. You guys, Twitter Small Biz, you're influencers in the space, and we always love when we can work together and amplify what we're all working on because we're trying to reach the same people.
Absolutely. The other great thing to think about too is people say, well, I don't know if that tweet was good or bad, or you said to be engaging. How do I actually know if that was engaging? You can actually, in our analytics platform, go to the tweet activity dashboard where you can look at every single tweet and see how many people actually saw this, how many people engaged with it, and which are the ones that are really singing, that people are saying, oh, this is really interesting, that they're clicking on, that they really, think are powerful. And when you know that, then you know I need to make more content like this. Or another thing you can do is we have a quick promote option where we basically will find people who will be just as interested in that tweet and amplify that and get it in front of more eyeballs and people besides just your follower base.
So the link there was analytics.twitter.com.
Yes.
And all of the research and available tools are right there.
Yes, and this is about your profile. So you'll actually get to see when you're logged in your business handle, you can see what's happened based on, kind of your account home, the tweet activity dashboard, and then another thing to look at is our audience insight dashboard. And what that is going to show you is demographics of, wow, most of my audience is, say you're an online business, they're actually over in Europe. I never knew that. So you know what, I should be thinking about scheduling some tweets earlier in the morning, so when they're waking up. Or, a variety of their interests, demographics. It's really going to let you think about the content that you want to tailor to and potentially when you're tweeting out to them.
So if you're a local business and you see that people around the United States are consuming your content and they're engaging with you, you might consider expanding your shipping radius for where you can actually plan to ship your products.
Absolutely. That's one of the greatest ideas. We always say that you may be a small business locally, but what Twitter is doing is opening up that whole international audience. And we're actually really excited because in the last month we've opened up over 200 markets around the world, which is a great opportunity that we have international businesses that are now able to reach us. But also think about yourself. If you're willing to do free shipping, you have now reached anywhere in the world that can tap into the interests that they have set in their platform, target them, and you can expand your audience and your customer base.
That's fantastic. Okay, let's get into some examples because
Yes.
I know that people love to hear us talk about this stuff, but they want to hear who are actually about small business owners who are actually doing this. So what are some real life examples of small businesses who have found success on Twitter?
Yes, so one that I absolutely love to highlight because I personally think that they're incredible is Goldie Blocks. So in case you don't know who they are, they actually make wonderful children's toys for girls to think about becoming future leaders in the STEM fields. Mm-hmm. And so really building and learning. And they were able to really utilize Twitter to just honestly own the holidays over the last couple of years. So it was 60% of their business comes from that holiday rush. And so they thought about it in a really interesting way of thinking of this cycle. So there's a bunch of people on Twitter that they want to get to their website to purchase. So what they did is they used a website card, which is just basically a piece of creative that is auto-expanded in your tweet that has overall a button that will drive directly to your website, as well as a great picture and some text that you're able to edit yourself. So they had people driving directly to say, hey, go and shop now on our website. And then they also used our retargeting pixel where they placed that on their website. And they were able to match back anybody who had visited there, target them again on Twitter, and say, visit us.
Let's dive into that just a little bit because that was a lot of technology all at one time.
Yes.
So if we're looking at the tweet, right?
Yes.
You've got the actual 140 characters, and then it expanded to include a card that allowed them to drive traffic directly back to their website.
Yes.
And then for those of you who don't know what retargeting is, when somebody expresses interest in your company or in your website or business, you drop a cookie on that person's browser, and then the next place that they go online, if you're buying ads there, you'll be able to see an ad for that product.
Yes.
So you get to find people who are already expressed interest in your product.
And so they're seeing your information again when they're back on Twitter. So they visited your site, they're back on Twitter. You're saying, hey, remember, you've visited my site. Why don't you come over and check out a new offer? So it's this great virtuous cycle. And they saw by doing this, by just having those two pieces of thinking about how do I get people to the website, and then again, people who are on Twitter that have already visited the website, again, back into that loop to come. They saw about a 6x ROI in investing in just those two strategies over the holiday.
And it was literally tweet-based strategy.
Yes. So absolutely incredible. And then the other thing is, that's a consumer product. But a lot of people say, well, I'm a B2B. Is Twitter going to work for me? And I love to cite a wonderful case study we have, which is with Ping-O-Meter, which monitors uptime and downtime of websites. And if anything goes astray, again, think of it as just a great alert that goes out to everybody who needs to know that. So they're based in Seattle. They're a small business company. But what they really realized is that there's a lot of people on Twitter, a developer community, people who are really interested in their product, and they actually sit outside the US. So again, going back to that idea that we're open in so many markets, they really thought about an international strategy that anyone could benefit from this. And so they tapped into this community that talks about these different issues of website optimization, or how can I think about website performance. By tapping into that, they actually made Twitter their most valuable marketing channel. They saw actually a 22% higher conversion, and opening the floodgates to those internationally, they really expanded their business just beyond kind of the US borders.
That's fantastic. And then one other company you wanted to mention?
Yes, it's called Ferguson, which is like a bath and kitchen fixture distributor. And again, you would think like, how are they going to be really successful on Twitter? But think about all the people out there that are trying to talk about, I really want to redo my kitchen, or I'm super excited and watching HGTV all the time.
That was
That's
me.
Yeah. Yes. Well, there's a lot of people who follow designers on Twitter, different blogs, how-to tips and tricks. I follow a lot of them myself. What they did was they know that, there's a great community out there, and they ran a followers campaign because they knew they wanted to create that big followers audience. And so they went out and found kind of your DIY networks, your best, kind of bloggers and design kind of different interest groups, targeted them and grew their follower base by 3,000% by just tapping into that community. And now we're able to show the really cool and unique products, and have started to see then driving people to sales to actually buy off their website.
This is something that's so easy for small business owners to do. Whatever service you have, whatever company that you work with or brand that you work with, go find leaders in that field, follow them, encourage them to follow you back, and you just expanded your scope of influence.
Absolutely.
Okay, we need to move on to some best practices.
Sure.
Not all engagement happens on Twitter. What are some best practices for creating tweets that drive actions off Twitter?
Yes.
You mentioned website cards, so that's one of them.
Yes. So I definitely recommend thinking about website cards, and it's one of those things where people aren't quite sure, how can I even create one? So you do have to go through our ads platform, which yet again, another URL, ads.twitter.com.
Okay.
But once you log in, you'll be able to create a website card, and you can tweet that out organically, or the idea is you could promote that tweet to reach a wider audience beyond your follower base. All it is essentially just a tweet kind of card that you're just placing within your tweet. And as I said, it looks like an auto-expanded field where you're able to put an image in there, you're able to kind of describe what's going to happen. And the most important thing is we offer a great call to action button. And we say, tell people exactly what they're going to see. So, learn more, or shop now, or subscribe or buy tickets. If you really are crystal clear, we find that people are very likely to click on that, and you'll see much higher engagement when they know exactly what's going to happen right after that click goes over to your website.
Besides website cards,
Yes.
what does the future look like at Twitter for small business owners?
So I think one thing that's really interesting, again, is that all of the market opportunities that we've opened up. So 200 plus markets, and so thinking about how do you really connect with those audiences. And then also we have in beta test right now our promoted video, which is coming soon to all businesses, which is really great because it's not just having an autoplay video that's out there, but think of it, you can also put a really strong call to action to show a video and then say shop now or visit your site or drive that traffic.
And can you use the same 6-second video that you used on Vine for a promoted video?
There's lots of great integration coming. And one thing I would definitely say is if you're creating great vines, make sure to put them in your tweets, and those are going to bring to life. We have a great stat that any sort of rich media, when you're promoting something out, gets 313% more engagement. That's just such a bananas number.
Yeah.
But I definitely, remember you get 140 characters, but a picture is worth 1,000 words. So
We've definitely found that here too. We try to always include pictures whenever we tweet because we've noticed engagement is higher.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. It's that time where we get to take questions from the community. We've been talking for a while now, so
All
let's see what everybody else has to say. We open this up. Okay. We have a question from Aiko. Hi, Aiko. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Twitter is especially hard for new businesses that are getting started. What's your advice for small businesses trying to ramp up their Twitter presence and attract quality followers?
So I think the first thing is to figure out what you want to be doing with your profile. So the idea of saying, I want to be on Twitter, what is something that you'd want to do to have that conversation with your customers as a small business? I have a great example of a kind of solar energy consulting firm that was like, I would love to grow my presence, but what can I do that's actually going to be really interesting? And so they have a wonderful knowledge base. They are one of the smartest people about different sides of solar energy consulting solutions. So they started a regular cadence of just saying, hey, we're going to explain this in really simple ways. And we're also just going to be really open to answer any questions. They tapped into a bunch of conversations using hashtags. So if people were talking about solar energy, if say there was, they found that people actually were tweeting about and using hashtags on congressional hearings, we're able to, again, find those conversations, be a voice there. People were really interested in what they were doing and therefore started following them. So they continue to see kind of all of their expertise. The other great way to think about really easily building that followers base is also run a follower campaign. And we have a variety of different options where you're able to say, hey, we know this person has this interest on the platform. So think about promoting and telling them exactly why they should be following you. And you can kind of really supercharge that audience.
Where can people access information about a follower campaign?
Again, on business.twitter.com. Highly recommend. Just the way we think about our platform is it's just set up based on what is your goal that you're trying to do for your business. So you're trying to talk to more people or grow that follower audience. We have a whole solution set to tell you both organic and paid best practices to think about there. Or you're trying to drive traffic to your website, or potentially you're an app developer and you want to drive more downloads. Any of those different goals, when you approach your marketing on Twitter that way, we have tried to make our product simple enough and intuitive enough, as well as giving you all those tips and best practices to optimize to, again, just reach the goal that you want to do, because we know that businesses are strapped for time.
Yeah, we know that. Okay, we have another question from Suzette. Is it a good idea to send an auto message or tweet to thank someone for following me?
We don't typically recommend saying every single, thanks for following. We recommend if they followed you, maybe follow up with another question of, hey, thanks for the follow. What are you interested within our business? Or if you see that they're local and, hey, thanks so much for following us. Next time you're around, stop in and say hi. You can even quote out a promo code at that point. One thing we also we say is, some people do a direct message if you guys are both following each other. It's better to think about having that conversation instead of just a thank you. It's going to help get them more engaged. And again, you can talk about your business because they've raised their hand and said, I want to hear more from you.
Perfect. Okay, we have another question from Katie. Hi, Katie. Yes. Katie says, do you have any advice on how content sites can use Twitter?
Absolutely. One thing that we always say is if you are writing a blog or if you're putting out great pieces of content, two things to think about is that Twitter is a great way to break up that content and have a really nice long conversation and talk about those points. So with our Tweet Smarter resource that we just created, we tweet out all the small tips and we kind of talk about it on a daily basis. Our wonderful social media manager, who's periscoping, is been able to kind of pull all of those different tidbits and really expand our content at Twitter Small Biz and give us a new venue to reach. The other thing too is that using a website card doesn't have to just necessarily drive to e-commerce. If you want somebody to go to your site and download or read more, that is one of the call to actions we highly recommend with a website card. So think about also telling people what they're going to get by clicking off and visiting, and then using those snippets of contents to pique their interest.
And where can they find out more about Tweet Smarter?
Again, on our resources page on business.twitter.com.
Okay. We have a question from Teresa. Hi, Teresa. Do you have any best practices for how often a small business owner should tweet?
So we say it's not about a magic number of day of tweeting. It's more about the cadence that's going to make sense for you. Some people worry that there's a magic number of like, oh no, I've done 3 tweets, but I need to hit 4 tweets a day. What we try to think about is, no, it's the content of your tweeting and the regular cadence. It's okay if that you're only tweeting, maybe once a day, but you're thinking about it on a regular cadence so that people know, oh, this is going to be there. The other idea too is setting your schedule so it's not overwhelming where you're looking at the cursor of what should I tweet today. So things like Throwback Thursdays have organically, come up on Twitter. But sometimes we say make your own type of day of the week. So Monday is behind the scenes day. Wednesday is kind of like new product day. Thursday is the day that you answer questions from your, from all of your customers. And Friday might be then the big promo day. So of that 7-day week, you have 1 or 2 days that is the direct sale. The others are engagement.
I think it's a good rule of thumb that you should always think that the content that you're sharing, somebody is looking for it and will enjoy it, and it doesn't feel like it's routine or rote or like robotic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, let's ask one more. We have one more question from Roger. Hi, Roger. What is the benefit of using a hashtag? I can't believe we haven't talked about this. Roger, you caught us.
So a hashtag is just a really simple way to make sure that people are you're either tapping into a trending conversation on the platform, or if you're doing something like hashtag social media or hashtag small biz, when people search for that, basically it's aggregating all of the conversations together. We definitely recommend them for your engagement tweets. So thinking of people, again, if you want to join a conversation, say there's a live moment like we find, it's New York Fashion Week and you're a small, brick and mortar boutique that's nowhere near New York. Tapping in by using the New York Fashion Week hashtag and showing some of your designs is a great way to join that conversation, as well as finding others that are using it and maybe starting a conversation with them. The one thing I do want to call out with hashtags, though, is when you're trying to drive a direct response, so saying, go to this website or download this thing now, you don't want to put in a ton of hashtags or maybe mention at other usernames, because again, remember, it's something that someone can click on and go over and see that whole conversation. And what you're trying to focus on is the idea of getting them to click to take them wherever you want to do, to another property. So engagement, use hashtags, great way to kind of expand your audience. Direct engagement, think about just making sure that the link that you're putting is kind of the star of that tweet.
That's such a great point, because when you're reading a tweet, you don't want to drive traffic away from the actual goal of the tweet. Yeah, I never thought about it that way. Okay, that's all the time we have for questions from the community. You did really well. That was fast and furious. We always look at our Hangouts and we try to wrap it all up with a bow at the end.
Yes.
So what are the top 3 things, if somebody's been watching this, that they should walk away knowing on how they can tap into Twitter?
Absolutely. First and foremost, simplicity. Again, going back to the point of you don't have to worry that there's a secret sauce of Twitter. Setting that cadence, making it simple, making it something that you're excited to tweet about, that's how you're going to create that follower community. And that's the really valuable part of Twitter. It's a really engaged and relevant audience for your business. Come find them and you'll find your customers. Second component, talking with your customers and not at them. Twitter is not just a megaphone where you're shouting at people. Again, think about it as if it's a real life conversation. We also find that when people ask just at least one question a week, that they get so much more engagement on their tweets. Because again, people know that there's a real person behind there and they want to start that engagement. And then lastly, don't forget the website cards. They are such a powerful tool for, again, linking this wonderful follower base that you're driving to your own platform, where you're able to either get them more information about your business or potentially get a sale.
So simplify your message, have a conversation,
Yes.
and don't forget those website cards.
Absolutely.
Okay, Anne, thank you so much for taking the time with us today. We really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you having me again. Thank you so much, Rachel.
And thank you all for tuning in for all of Social Media Month. We really appreciate it. As always, you can find all of our content at g.co/GSBC, and you can follow us at Google Small Business on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Google+. Until next time, I'm Rachel Sterling. Thanks so much for joining us here in the Google Small Business community, the place where you go to get the help you need to succeed on the web.